da Rope Break family, your host, Jean-Paul Leek. And like every Thursday, bringing you your AEW Dynamite review. And normally, when I come on here, I always say that Wednesday is a great night for wrestling, and we get 4 hours of, really good, really solid, fantastic in-ring action and all that. But this week, there might only have been maybe 2.5 hours of good in-ring action, because the best way I can describe this episode of Dynamite was not very good. It was like somebody made you a sandwich with two delicious pieces of bread. The top, the first thing, great. And then the rest of it was moldy cheese, slimy, disgusting, lunch meat, just wilted lettuce, like really bad tomatoes, spoiled mayo, whatever you put on your sandwich. Everything that was in the middle, was awful. And then the ending, another nice piece of bread. And that was this show. The opening segment was great. The main event was pretty good. And everything else in between, not so much. There was, the match with TH2 and SCU. And that wasn't a bad tag match. But, everything else, it was just, the talent is there and they have the roster. But whoever is behind the pen needs to go. Whether it's Cody, I know there was reports Tony Khan is back. He's taking more creative control. Whether it's the Bucks, whoever it is, they need to drop the pen, because these shows are. Don't want to come out flat and say they're awful, but this Dynamite last night, I would have rather watched, 2 hours of Monday Night Raw. If I could just cut like an hour's worth out of Monday Night Raw, I would rather watch 2 hours of this past Monday Night Raw than this episode of Dynamite. I'm sorry if that pisses people off, like, oh, John Paul's just a hater. Well, then let me know in the comments why I'm a hater. But anyway, let's get into the review. But actually, before that, like I always do, I want to thank all the new subscribers, thank everyone who's, coming on to the channel, whether you're brand new and you just first subscribed, or you've been here since day one. I want to thank you guys. So now we can get into the review, because believe me, I want to get done with this, and I can't wait till tonight so we can review NXT. Oh, John Paul, you just like NXT, you don't like AEW. I do like AEW, but they don't like us, because they're the garbage that they're giving us. Clearly, they don't care about us as much as they say. So, Jon Moxley, he comes out, he's talking about Jericho, match at Revolution, saying how he's a legend and all that. And he says, but he won't only face Jericho, he also will face the Inner Circle. And he's like, Jericho is the kind of man who hides behind his boys. He's a kind of man who stabs Moxley in the eye, break Dustin's arm, smashes Cody's face, and then even mentioned how he stole Ray's mask and hit a woman, Shawn Michaels' wife. So that was pretty cool that he mentioned some WWE stuff. And then Moxley said he's not a saint either, but at least he has a code of honor. And he says how Jericho is a bully and how Moxley hates bullies. And then he said how he won't hesitate to take out Jericho, and he's going to take the title, and there's not a damn thing he can do about it, and it's not because of the man Jericho is, but it's because the man he is not. And Moxley said he knows the 3 weeks until Revolution don't look good for him, because he said Jericho has all his boys, he could sick them on him, anybody, Pac, there's anybody who could, take Moxley out. So he says, why doesn't Jericho come down to the ring now and get the ass kicking he, deserves like a man? So then out comes Jericho, of course, and he says Moxley makes him laugh when he hears him talk, and he said that Moxley deserved that spike in his eye. He said all that Moxley had to do was say yes, say yes to his offer, and he's like, you're an idiot, you brought all of this on yourself. And he said how he saw Moxley's mom backstage, and she was looking quite fetching, gotta love Jericho. And then he apologized to her, and he said, but it's all Moxley's fault, because again, all he had to do was say yes. And then he asked Moxley if he has what it takes to beat him, and he said he doesn't have what it takes to blink with both eyes, so he definitely doesn't have what it takes to beat Jericho. Again, you gotta love, just the way, his quick wit, he just comes up with things. I'm sure he wasn't backstage writing this down, like, ooh, I gotta remember that one. He goes out there, just shoots from the hip, great promo. And then he goes to the crowd to asking about, he's like, oh, should I face Moxley tonight? Like, am I going to do it? And then he's like, go ahead, go to hell. And then the fans, of course, boo him. Really good stuff, again, like from Jericho. And then he brings out the Inner Circle. Moxley says that he sees 5 of them up there. and he said that it's not going to be a 5-on, or there is going to be another 5-on-1 beatdown, but it won't be like that because he was raised here in the great state of Ohio, and he said it's 5 against him in this entire arena, which was a cool babyface promo. In, if you're just hearing it, you're not really thinking about it, but it's like, dude, what's the crowd going to do? Jump the barricade and beat up the inner circle? Like, it's still 5 against 1. They're just, what are they going to do? Cheer your name? Is that going to give you superpowers to beat them up? No, it's not. So, that was kind of like, it sounded cool, but in reality, it's like, not really. And then he said he likes those odds, him and the arena versus Jericho's inner circle. Then Jericho calls him a stupid son of a bitch, and he said that he brought some street thugs to fight Moxley. So now it's a 9-on-1 fight. Santana and Ortiz, they called out their boys. And security comes down. They try to stop, this 9-on-1 beatdown. But Moxley, he tries to fight through security. He actually DDTs one of them. And then he walks into the crowd, and the crowd chants for him. And the patch, in the, the struggle, the, whatever you want to call it, his patch got moved from his eye. And you actually see the makeup and stuff they had over his eye to make him look blind. So that was really cool. And it looked really good. It didn't look fake or cheesy or anything. Or it wasn't like the patch moved and he was just like, winking his eye, like, or, holding the one eye shut. So it looked really good. And like I said, great opening segment. Building more hype for Revolution in 3 weeks. A show I am looking forward to. Like I said, I'm not a hater. It's just they hate me. That's how I feel. Because it's like, if you didn't hate us, and they're insulting our intelligence, but not in the same way that WWE does. They insult it where, and I'll get to it once we get to the matches, but I'll just talk about it a little bit here since I'm on the subject. They insult our intelligence in the sense where it's like, we see the elite win every week, and all these other guys who they bring in who aren't, Jericho's friends, or, in the elite or the elite's friends, these people aren't booked that good. And we see that. The only one is Jon Moxley, and it's like, and you could say Pac, but what has he done? Yeah, he has a bunch of wins, but no title opportunity, nothing like that. So it's like, what has this guy really got? Like, a couple wins, but who cares? He could have got those couple wins on the indies. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not doing anything for him. So, like I said, besides Moxley, he's the only one who's not a friend of the inner circle. Well, he is friends with Jericho. So maybe that, and just because he's a big name, they had to use him. Like, he was one of those guys they had to use. But you got the Joey Janela's, the Kip Sabians, the Sean Spears, all these guys. It's like, yeah, they're kind of being used, but like, to what capacity? They're not really going to do anything with them. It's all just the elite. And it's, like I said, I'll get to it when we get there. But then we get a video package from MJF where he's going to a butcher shop with Wardlow, and he gives an envelope to the bunny with the Young Bucks name on it, and it looked like it was filled with money. So then we get a match with the Butcher and the Blade versus the Young Bucks, and MJF comes out with them with Wardlow and the bunny, and then MJF is on commentary for this match, and he was the only good thing about this match. It was him on commentary, and I'm going to go through it quick, and then I'm going to go into a bitch storm. But the Bucks work over the Blade with tons of tag team offense. The Butcher double clotheslines them to try to help out his partner, but Nick comes in, he takes out the Butcher, but then the bunny fights back, and then the Blade, or the the bunny's trying to screw with him, and then the Blade, they fight back, and the Blade dives in to take out Matt, and then the Butcher and the Blade work over Nick during the commercial. That was their only offense in this match. I kid you not. All their offense was in commercial. We did not see any of their major offense besides like the double clothesline and a dive. But like, consistent offense was in the picture-in-picture. That little tiny screen. Why couldn't you show the Bucks getting beat down on the big screen? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too much. The Butcher powerbombs Nick for a 2. Nick counters a back suplex and makes the tag. Matt beats down the Butcher. Matt, of course, takes out both men. Elbow drop for a near fall on the Blade, and then Nick hits a swanton on the Blade, and then a double super kick on the Butcher, take him out. Then they do a Meltzer driver, which whoever wasn't actually pile driving, the one who does the springboard, he didn't even touch him, so I put in my notes botched Meltzer driver, but it really wasn't a botch. It just, I don't know, he was just too far away, or the timing was off, for the win. And like I said, just an awful, in my opinion, just an awful match. But I'll go through the closing segments before I really get into it. Then after the match, they try to make them look strong. The Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny start beating down the Young Bucks. But then, of course, Kenny Omega comes out and he's clearing house, knocking everybody down because, now, like, Kenny Omega looks, legit. But when you put him in a singles role, the guy can't do anything. But he comes down. He starts knocking people out left and right. This was also the best part. Hangman's coming down with his beer, and he's just, walking like, drinking his beer, not even giving a shit. And he gets in, and he hands his beer, I think, to Matt Jackson, and he's like, here, like, you hold this. And then he hits a buckshot on the Butcher, and then he takes his beer, finishes it, and walks off, and is like, whatever, my job here is done. And then it's the three of the Elite. They're just standing there, just kind of like looking like, oh, what the heck's going on? Like they're more like concerned with Hangman just like walking off, and we're like, okay, than they were with the heels who were in this match. And that's pretty much the story. Butcher and the Blade, I think again, one of our biggest supporters, Tom, he's friends with one of them. I think it's the Butcher or the Blade. Tom, ask them why they signed with AEW and ask them if they regret it, because, I'm not saying that these guys would have done better in NXT, but I feel like they wouldn't have been jobbed out like this being brought in to NXT. I mean, maybe they would have had to go through the PC and the Performance Center, and they might not be on television yet till they get acclimated with the WWE way, but at least you wouldn't be freaking getting jobbed out every time you barely won your first match, and then since then you look like a bunch of losers. Why do you even sign these guys? What do you just sign them and they just get in line? It's like Hulk Hogan. Bring someone in, get in line to get your ass kicked by Hogan. Like, okay, why did I even come here? For a paycheck? Then go to WWE for the paycheck. Because at least you'll be in the brand that everybody knows. So, just an awful match. And that's not just me, like I said, being a hater. I looked online, everybody was shitting on this match. So, clearly that's the consensus. Then we get another thing they really need to fix, the women's division. We got Nyla Rose versus Big Swole. They showed a little bit of Nyla Rose powerbombing Shayna on AEW Dark, so they actually acknowledged and showed highlights from AEW Dark on television. Not that it's really affecting storylines. You could have did something. They said Shayna was really selling this injury, but how come you see people get powerbombed through tables during matches and get up? So, like, I don't know. Like, to me, I would have had her come out here, cost Nyla Rose the match, have Big Swole get the win. Would have been a shock. It would have been a storyline. Then you continue their feud. But instead, this is what we got. Swole uses her speed early on to take advantage, but soon the strength of Nyla Rose takes out Swole, and Swole tries to wear her down her opponent with a Dragon Sleeper, because ever since, I mean, maybe this is just a common thing, but I feel Nia Jax in NXT, when Asuka, beat her, and she used that Dragon Sleeper, and like Bayley used it, and like all these women in NXT used that. That was like the only way they could take out Nia Jax. Like ever since then, any big woman is just like Dragon Sleeper, and it's like, can you do something else? Can you kick him in the knees? Can you I'm sick of seeing the same match with a big, powerful woman. Like that's your only defense. That's your only way to take him down. No, that's just lazy. It's like, oh, let's just copy this one formula and be done with it. But then a big headbutt by Swole, and Rose is staggered. Swole hits a cutter for 2, but then Nyla Rose hits a sit-out powerbomb for the pin. What do you want me to say? It wasn't that great of a match. Big Swole's not bad. I think she'll get better as time goes on. And again, same thing with Nyla Rose, not bad, but like, why do I care about this match? Like I said, if you would have had Shayna come down, and not that every match needs to end in a screwy finish or a DQ, but you got to do something to like keep me invested, because there's literally zero storylines besides Britt Baker calling out Riho, every time she's on TV, which she does here again tonight, which was, again, that was another part of the show which I, was tolerable. Britt Baker's promo, actually, when last week I was shitting on her, but you got to do something to build intrigue in the women's division, otherwise people aren't going to care. And hey, AEW, let me clue you in on a little secret. They already don't care. So you really got to do something to fix your women's division. And this wasn't the answer. So here we go. Let's get this over with. Kip Sabian versus Cody. So Cody, of course, comes down with Arn Anderson, the head coach, and I don't know what you're trying, because it's Super Bowl season, and they brought him on, towards the end of the football season, and you got to do like the head coach, and let's talk behind the play call sheet, because blah 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 blah. Like, what are you telling him, dude? Again, like, I don't know. Arn Anderson, he should have just came down he should have been right like Tully Blanchard, just came down in a suit. You don't got to gimmick up Arn Anderson, but. Like I said, Sabian starts out strong, gut buster, but eventually Cody fights back. The drop down slap, pump kick. Then outside, Sabian shoves Anderson, and the whole time the ref, the little squeaky bald guy, Bryce Remsworth, I think his name is, he's just getting this was so stupid. He just gets in Arn Anderson's face when clearly Sabian, I don't think Remsworth is a heel ref. I don't think they're doing that where there's heel refs. I think they're all just clear baby faces, but. Unless they're changing Remsworth into a heel, which would actually be something I think is cool. Having a heel ref, really affects the dynamics of a match, and instead of a ref just being a, right down the middle babyface ref. But he gets in Arn's face, and anytime Sabian or something like that gets involved, anytime literally Arn blinks, he's yelling at Arn like, "Oh, don't get involved, don't touch the apron, don't do this, don't do that," and it's like, so that was the story of the match early on. And like I said, so he shoves Anderson, and then Cody knocks down Penelope Ford by accident. I think he went to I don't know if he did his elbow back or moved his arm back, but Ford kind of just ran into him on purpose. And then, like I said, Cody knocks her down. So then Sabian, he kicks Cody while he was checking on her, and then it was again all a ploy. So then they start making out on the apron, and then Sabian beats down Cody. During the commercial break, Sabian sells an injury. And then Cody with punches in the corner, power slam, disaster kick for 2, and then again the ref is mouthing off to Anderson, and then Arn Anderson shoves the ref, and it's like, all right, dude, you're out of here. So the ref throws him out. Ford hits a Hurricane Rana on Cody, and then Sabian dives on him, and then now they're out on the outside. So they're standing right at the corner of the barricade, and they go to kiss each other, but they have their eyes closed as they're bringing their faces together. Boom. Joey Janela pops up, sticks his head forward. They each kiss one of his cheeks. Again, another little just sprinkle of greatness and good, during this match. But then I would have had it where, after that, maybe they start brawling and it just ends in a DQ. And Cody gets the win because, or not even ends in a DQ. I don't know. I mean, I guess Sabian will get the win in the DQ, but, I don't know. You got to do something. But instead, after that, they're like, oh my God, what? And they're grossed out, and he gives them the finger and runs away. So then Cody dives onto Sabian then after that, and then back in the ring, Sabian hits a draping neck breaker for a 2 count. Cody counters the Deathly Hollows, his finisher, and then he hits a cutter, and then 3 crossroads for the win. So not only does Cody win clean and all that, like I said, Joey Janela could have came in, he could have crotched him, he could have did something, and Cody got the win, and it was assisted, whatever. I know Cody's got to look strong, but you literally buried Kip Sabian, because now I don't care. The dude, why did he have to eat 3 crossroads? Please somebody explain that to me. In the comments, please tell me why Sabian had to eat 3 crossroads, because I don't understand that. Now the guy to me looks like a loser. Yeah, he has a hot girlfriend, but I don't give a shit. He looks like a loser. So, moving on from that, we get Tony Schiavone. He's interviewing Britt Baker 2nd week in a row. Let's see how it goes. She says she's not insulted by what he said last week, but she's insulted. She's like, but it's Dr. Britt Baker to you. And then that's when, again, she's like, I'm not offended by what you said. You and I are buddies. We were the talk of the town. We were trending on social media. It's like, yeah, trending on social media from the freaking 900,000 marks who watched this show. Everyone else did not care that you called Tony Schiavone a shitty barista. I'm sorry, that was not the talk of the town. But she said the real problem is Jim Ross for interrupting her, and she said he's smug on her division and her generation, and he needs to be the legend that we know that we think he is, not a sloppy barbecue salesman who can't get the names on the rosters right. And that I actually popped for. I don't care about him plugging his barbecue, hey, whatever. But, really, you can't get the names right? And I think he was saying, I know the name is Isaiah Cassidy, but he was not saying Cassidy's name right. And I'm like, really? She just shit on you earlier in the night, and then in the main event, you can't even get the names right? It's like, oh my God, dude. Like, again, I'm not trying to shit on a legend, but here I am shitting on a legend, and I'm not sorry about it because you got, like, come on. You got to, like, don't you have that sheet in front of you? Like, I know you can read, like, come on. So then she says that she'll be here every week, unlike the champion Riho. And then Baker, then she insults Tony at the end. She's like, I can smell your gums, and you have a early onset gingivitis or something like that. She'll get to brush your damn teeth or pick up a damn toothbrush. So that was the end of that. But like I said, that promo wasn't bad because of what she said about Jim Ross and, of course, what she said about Riho. And I agree with both because, get the names right and this and that. And, I know people might say it's a minor thing, but it's like, it's not a minor thing. Like, if you say the name wrong one time and then you hear the person next to you say the name correctly and you still say the name wrong, something's going on here. And I'm not talking about Jungle Jack Perry. That's whatever. Technically, his name's Jack Perry. He's not incorrect. But when you're calling like Mark Quinn, like, you're calling him something different, or Isaiah Cassidy, it was one of the members of Private Party. He called their name completely wrong. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, when Excalibur and Tony Schiavone are saying it correctly, sitting right next to you, it's not like you're the only commentator on the show, and it's like, oh, shit, I messed their name up, I wish I had somebody next to me to correct me. Like, dude, they were correcting you the whole time. They weren't just saying, hey, Jim, you're fucking up. They were saying it the right way, and you're saying it wrong. So, that's why I agree with her on that. But then we get backstage, the Bucks and Kenny, they're backstage, and they talk about how, the Bucks are talking about how the Dark Order have really been messing with them, and Kenny's like, hey guys, it's alright, don't worry, you'll get back on track. And then, and they said how they want to be in running for the belts, and at this point, Paige shows up, and he brags, and he shows off, he's like, yeah, look, we got our new nameplates, and he's like, they have nameplates made for everybody already, and he's like, here, I got these for you guys, and they're like, oh, you didn't have to give us our nameplates. And he gives them to him, and he's like, hey, maybe one day you guys will get to challenge us, but who knows about that. And he walks off, and then Kenny says that next week they're in an 8-man tag match, so, it'll be the Elite versus the Butcher and the Blade, and then a tag team of their choosing. And it's like, really? Like, who's going to be? I was hoping it would be just some job team so I could just, I don't know, go take a shit during that match and not have to watch it, because I already know what the outcome is. But then it was announced it's the Lucha Bros, so if they freaking job out my Lucha Bros, John Paul will be reviewing NXT then, because I am not, again, why did you sign these teams if they're all just going to be fed to the Elite machine? Why? There's no point. So then we get SCU. They come out wearing Kobe jerseys. So again, that was a nice tribute. And then the SCU versus Hybrid 2. Kazarian drops Jack Evans onto the second rope. Sky catches him with a kick to the face, which bounces him back into a German suplex. Good spot. Eventually, TH2 is able to isolate Sky. Scorpio does fight out, but as he aims to bounce off the ropes, Angelico catches him with a kick to the back, and then Evans lands a forward Pele kick to the back, continuing the attack on Sky's back. Finally, Sky's able to battle out, and he manages to make the tag. Sky then tries to spear Evans through the ropes, but he avoids it, and that allows them to double-team Kazarian. And then Angelico goes for the pin and uses the ropes for leverage, but Sky pushes them off. And then Scorpio manages to take out Evans on the outside, and then an SCU later on Angelico for the win. This match wasn't super long, but it was pretty good. It was fun. The tribute to Kobe, I have nothing bad to say about that. And again, this was, I guess you could say, because this was right before the main event. So you could say, like, from here on was like a nice thick piece of bread, like I was, with my sandwich analogy earlier. So, like, from here on, the rest of the show wasn't bad. But just the Cody and the Bucks and Butcher and the Blade and all that, it was like, what is going on? Like, who is booking this show? Oh, wait, the three guys who won are booking the show. But then we get a video package, or I'm sorry, before we get that, we get Evil Uno. He comes out on the screen, and he's with John Silver and Alex Reynolds and Stu Grayson. Stu sounds stupid. What are you, WWE? Taking for Anthony, Cesaro and just make, or Antonio Cesaro, making him just Cesaro? Like, come on. But they said that the Exalted One, who is probably going to be Matt Hardy, which, see, if Matt Hardy's a friend of the Bucks, though, so I feel like if he does go there, he'll be all right. You know, if it was somebody else, you're better off just working the indies, my friend. But, so, the Exalted One, they said, is upset with Daniels, and they said that they are to target his friends, you know, because he's not joining up with them. They requested his services and asked him to join the Dark Order. He refuses, so they're like, we're just going to target all your friends. And I assume they meant not to recruit, but to beat down and beat up. I mean, maybe recruit. But then he asked Stu, you know, who should they go after first? And Stu said he doesn't care, and they laugh, and done. So, didn't really do much for me, but, you know, it wasn't bad either. Then we get a video package from Pac, and he tells Moxley to have fun with Jericho in the inner circle, and he's like, if there's anything left of you after, you know, they've picked your bones, I'll rip out your other eye. And then he said it looks like Kenny finally got his message, but it won't be when it's convenient for Kenny. It'll be on Pac's timetable, and next week he's coming for blood. Because he's like, oh, you know, you're in the tag team division now, you won that belt, and now you'll face me when it's convenient. And he's like, no, you're going to face me when I want to face you. So, again, like I said, a good promo, but what's it going to do? Is he going to beat Kenny? Are they going to have Kenny lose? I don't think so. The only way that they're going to have that is if Hangman costs him the match, but I don't feel like you're going to do that unless you're going to play hot potato with the tag belts, and Kenny and Hangman are going to lose them in the next coming weeks. You know, maybe they lose them to, you know, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to book this thing because I was trying to book this earlier and they completely threw a wrench in everything. It doesn't look like we're getting Kenny versus, this match will probably be at Revolution, Kenny and Pac, and it should have been Hangman and Kenny. Instead, they went and gave him the tag belt, so I don't know what the hell they're doing. Now we finally get to the main event. Private Party and Darby Allin versus Proud and Powerful and Chris Jericho. And like I said, this was a good match. Chris Jericho slaps Darby Allin, you know, early on, you know, taunting him. Darby then fires back with one of his own, and then he takes down Jericho with an arm drag off the top rope. Jericho tags in Ortiz as Isaiah Cassidy joins in. He gets hit with an eye poke. And then he responds with a kick to the head as Mark Quinn tags in, and then the double team begins. Ortiz is hitting a drop kick with Jericho, then returning, hitting a few chops to Quinn. Ortiz then comes back in, and he stops Quinn's attempt to tag out. However, their double team attempt fails as Quinn sends Ortiz into his partner, bringing in Cassidy. And then the inner circle hits Three Amigos, and then Ortiz isolates Cassidy by stomping on his leg, mocking his partners before dropping Cassidy onto his knee. Jericho hits a lion salt, and Santana comes in to keep the attack going. Eventually, Quinn breaks things up. Cassidy smartly runs off the back of Ortiz and takes out Santana, getting the tag to Darby Allin. So, of course, the hot tag, Darby comes in, and then the pace manages are to pick up, and he takes out all three men. Match breaks down at this point with a chain of moves that see people taken out. Eventually, it's just Darby Allin and Santana, but Jericho makes a blind tag, and then it doesn't work for Jericho as Darby Allin springboards off the second rope and catches him. Hager then comes in to get involved, but Allin catches him with a kick, and then he hits the coffin drop. Quinn flies over the rope, and he takes out Proud and Powerful while Cassidy splashes onto Jericho in the middle of the ring. And you thought that was going to be the end of it, but if Jericho kicks out at like a 2.9, you know, very close near fall. And then Cassidy tries to keep the attack going, but he runs into a Judas effect for the pin. So again, you know, really protecting the Judas effect, but this was a great match, really fast-paced, all over the place. And, you know, like I said, I had nothing bad to say about it. And then after the match, the entire inner circle, they hit the ring and they beat down all three men. Jericho using the World Championship, and he's whipping them. They then use Darby Allin's skateboard, ramming it into his throat. The group then try to carry on the beatdown. Moxley shows up with a baseball bat, and then he, you know, uses this thing, and he's beating down all the members of the inner circle, except for Chris Jericho. He gets out of there. He doesn't get whacked, but then they all escape, and they all, you know, as Moxley stands tall and the show goes off the air. So like I said, the opening segment with Moxley and Jericho, great. Closing segment, Moxley and Jericho, great. The main event match was good. The, you know, Dark Order promo, Pac promo, not bad. SCU versus, you know, TH2, not bad. But what are you doing with everything else? The tag team division, you're going to have the Butcher and the Blade are teaming up with the Lucha Bros. And the Lucha Bros haven't even looked that good since they reset the record or whatever you want to call it. The season reset or whatever they're calling it. The Lucha Bros haven't looked good. The Butcher and the Blade look like freaking loser jobbers. The team of QT Marshall and Cody, almost beat them. And it's like, really? Like, who? Like, that should have been a match where they got beat down and that you made them look strong, not barely winning. But that's what you should have done tonight with the Bucks. You can make the Butcher and the Blade dominate the first 70% of this match, and then, whether they're isolating Nick or Matt, and then a hot tag, come in, this man is fresh, and, counters, super kicks, this and that. They do their normal offense, and then Meltzer driver for the win. I would not have had a big an issue if the Butcher and the Blade didn't look like losers. It looked like freaking you create a wrestler, and you leave him at like 60 overall. It's like, what is going on here? You bring these guys in, like I said, for what? To be fed to the Young Bucks? Nobody wants to see that. That's why you got these people more people are signing with NXT now. Or people are signing with TNA, or Marty Scurll staying in Ring of Honor. There's NWA. I don't think everybody's jumping to AEW, as much as they were in the beginning, because they see it's like, well, how are we being used? And you have tons of people on AEW Dark. There was, like Sonny Kiss, and I'm not saying Sonny Kiss is the most talented wrestler on the roster, nowhere close, but it's like, what are they doing with him? There's so many people, it's like, what are you doing with these guys? We don't see them at all, because I'm not watching AEW Dark. I'm sorry. Once it's on TV and it has a more prominent role, then maybe I will. And there's so many women in the women's division. Shayna, there's all these different people, and it's like, why aren't we seeing them? What are you doing with them? But, I guess it is what it is, because their ratings are, better than NXT, and that just shows you, because this is an opinion, but I don't give a shit, because I'm going to say my opinion is fact. NXT has a better written show than AEW, but their numbers are lower, so what does that show you? The ratings don't mean anything. And, if I had to predict, I'm still going to say that AEW's ratings are better this week, but I feel like it's going to be close. The margin that NXT is only going to be a little bit behind. I would be surprised if AEW beat NXT by like 200,000 or 100,000. I feel like it's going to be close. 50,000, maybe 20,000. It's not going to be a very big gap. But, and the match with Cody, to me, didn't bother me as much as it did the Young Bucks, but it was still like, really, Cody essentially squashed this guy. You hit your finisher 3 times on him, and that's not saying, oh, he did it because he knew if he didn't hit it that many times, Sabian would have kicked out. Bullshit. That was essentially rubbing, his face in the dirt. That was essentially saying, screw you, you're not on my level, I'm going to beat you down. That's like when freaking you have like squash matches, like the one that comes to my head is like Big E, when he was in NXT, Big E Langston, and he hit the big ending, and he would do the 5 count. And then they'd be like, oh, do it again, and he hit the big ending again. That's what that is. You're essentially just rubbing this guy's freaking face in the dirt. Like, screw you, you're a loser. That's what he did to Kip Sabian, and it's not like he's some local enhancement talent. He's involved in a feud with somebody else. Why couldn't that guy have cost him the match? Like I said, there was just so much booking that is just completely wrong. It's like, who's even writing this show? And I said it in the beginning, I'm going to say it again. I would rather have watched 2 hours of Monday Night Raw than watch this. SmackDown? No. I would have rather watched this than SmackDown. But the 2 hours of Raw from this past episode, I would have definitely watched over this show. And that's how I'm going to close this review, because I'm just done talking about AEW this week. I want to talk about Dynamite. I'm sure Juan and I will mention it a little bit in our review on NXT. Dynamite always gets brought up somehow, but I really want them to do better. Like I said, I thought this new year was going to be a really good step in the right direction, and I said I'm not pulling any punches. Once they started, their new year and all that, and they reset the records, to me that was like they were saying their trial run is over, and this is, this is it. This is, they're going full force here now. They should know what they're doing. They reset the records. Everything's ready to rock, and clearly that's not the case, because they were booking better before than they were now. But like I said, I'm going to keep talking. I'll just keep going in circles. But I just want to thank all you guys for watching. Please check out all the other videos. Of course, I have Monday Night Raw. And I do want to say Monday Night Raw, I was tired when I recorded that. I did forget. Mojo Rawley, sorry about that, in his 24 championship win, actually had a match, which that's the one thing I guess I can appreciate. Excuse me, that they had a match and not just a garbage segment with these dudes running around. But I'd rather not see a match and just see them throw that championship in the fire and then give that time to, the main event or somebody else, extend another match. Maybe actually give Aleister Black a match, not a 2-second thing, but that's neither here nor there. And also the Street Profits had a segment with Kelly Kelly again. Or whoever, I think it was Kelly Kelly. I don't care. One of those bimbos from the Divas era. Just please get these guys wrestling or send them down to NXT. Do something. These guys are so talented, and this is how they're used. Again, and I mean, I'm saying the same thing that I did with the Butcher and the Blade with the Street Profits, except the Street Profits, their talent is up here, and the Butcher and the Blade are like down here. So it's not as like, what are you doing? But like, at least when the Street Profits wrestle, they look good. Even if they lose, they still look pretty good. Not these guys who they don't even look good when they win. But, so now that that's cleared up with Monday Night Raw, now I can say, if you haven't already, check that out, that review. Of course, check out all the stuff from last week, Royal Rumble, NWA Hard Times, Worlds Collide, John Paul's Wrestling Hall. Of course, check out all that stuff. And if, like we do every week, tonight we're going to have NXT review. NXT was a fantastic show, like always. And then, of course, we're going to have Friday SmackDown, and maybe we'll do something for you this weekend. It is slow, so we might just, recharge the tanks and, get ready for the start of the next week. But again, just want to thank all you guys. Check us out on all our social medias as well. We got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us all out on there. And, thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice day.